Hope everybody had a great spring break. We had spring break. I got to see my wife and kids, who I haven't seen in a month since signing day, so it was great to go spend a week with them. Obviously really excited. We came back from spring break. I thought it was important to give the coaches some time off. Most of them to handle their moves or go see their families as well. And then we came back on Friday and put a full day of work in on Saturday and Sunday, making sure we're ready and all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted to get going with spring ball, so we can be as effective as possible. Just like I told the coaches and the players, we need to go out there with the mindset that we've been here for 3 years. We know how to practice. We know what the expectations are. We can't allow the fact that this is our first practice for us to use that as an excuse to not go out and fly around. So we need to go out and practice like a veteran team, like a veteran staff, and like a veteran organization. So that's kind of our goal, to hit the ground running. We've been as thorough and as detailed and as organized as you could possibly be with the players as well as the coaches. They understand that when they hit the field, they're running. There's no walking on the field ever. I told them the first day, if you don't know where you're supposed to go or what you're doing when the horn blows, then sprint in a circle until you figure it out. We're going to go out there and have a good time and enjoy ourselves. It's going to be a lot of energy. Have fun with the guys, coach them hard. I think it's going to be important to build this chemistry and the trust with the players. What I found in a short period of time of these guys, a number of the guys on the team, I'm their third head coach. I'm their third head coach in a very, very short period of time. And I think they're very, very close as a team, the players, but we need to make sure that we're very, very close and have great chemistry as an entire organization, coach and players and everybody involved. So we're really, really excited about it. There has been some position changes. There has been some number changes and things like that. But I'm more than happy to get into any specific questions that you guys might have. But I wanted to just open up with a little opening statement to kind of let you know where we're at. And once again, can't tell you how much I appreciate everybody coming out and spending the day with us.
Okay, we've got 2 handheld microphones. Please raise your hand and bring your microphone to you.
Can I get
James, you mentioned you guys are trying to be as well prepared as possible for this practice. Can you kind of give us a sense of how you guys prepared and things that you spent a lot of time on to get yourself ready for this?
Well, with the limitations that we've talked about in the past, with the number of hours and things like that, what's nice is some of the rule changes here recently is you are allowed to meet with them. You weren't allowed to do that before. That's helped. Making sure, first of all, that the coaches, that we're all on the same page. We do have a couple new coaches that have joined us, so I think that's important. Same thing with administration, strength staff, just making sure we're all on the same page. Every year, whether we would have stayed at the previous institution or moved on, you're always going to go back and clean some things up and grow and adapt. So we have done that, and then being able to start giving the players the installation. So the way we do it is we do basically 15 installs. Offense, defense, special teams, run game, pass game, whatever it may be, and how we break it up. So they were able to get 2 or 3 of the installs in written form to look at before they left for spring break, to have it with them over spring break, and then also video as well. So for example, install 1 of the defense, maybe cover 2, they'll get that in writing exactly what the responsibilities were, but then they'll also get film of examples of that coverage as well. For us it's a little bit different, and it's a little bit weird at this point because we're showing them film that is not Penn State film, but it's the best example of what we can show them at this point. And as we get better examples from practice, then we can start to take Penn State examples and replace that film. Because you'd love to be able to have the freshmen coming in or whoever it is to be able to watch our film as much as possible. But we also will splice in some examples of NFL film as well, running same plays or same schemes, because I think that helps with the kids as well.
James, you mentioned a couple of position changes you've made. Were they made based on need? Were they made based on watching film and reanalyzing or reevaluating some players? What went into some of those changes?
I think more than anything, need. At this point, it's hard to really say that this guy should be playing this position or this guy should be playing that position based on what we've seen and evaluated. We basically look at the overall roster, positions of strength, positions of weakness, based on numbers, based on talent. For example, I think a great example is we've moved Dowry and we have moved Gaia to offensive line. A big part of that is when I looked at the defensive line, we had a 4 deep of scholarship players on the defensive line, basically. 4 deep at defensive end, about 3.5 deep at defensive tackles, nose guard and D tackle. On offensive line, we did not have a 2 deep of scholarship players, not even a 2 deep. So just felt like we needed to make some moves. From a media and from a fan perspective, every time I meet somebody, all they want to talk about is Christian Hackenberg, and don't get me wrong, I'm excited about him as well. But it takes a lot more than a quarterback to be successful on offense. So we want to make sure that the game of football is played from the ground up from a fundamental standpoint, but the game of football is also played up front on the offensive line and on the defensive line, and we're going to make sure that we recruit well at that position, develop well at that position, no different than anywhere else, but you better be good at those 2 positions. So they were some things that we think we needed to do. It's not a perfect situation because I think where we're lacking the most is at offensive tackle, and typically you'd like a guy with that's 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" at offensive tackle, and it isn't always necessarily to do with height. A lot of times it has to do with length. So you could get away with a 6'3" guy if he's got really long arms and things like that. And I wouldn't say Dowry and Gaia allow us to do that, but it might create some flexibility with Diefenbach and some other guys as well to create depth at that offensive tackle.
James, can you tell us how much time you and the staff spent watching film of Penn State from last year, whether it was games or practices, to get a feel for what these players are all about? And along with that, how important is the first week or so of spring practice to actually work with these guys kind of hands-on?
I think the hands-on experience is the most important thing. A lot of times you watch the tape, no different than high school tape, you're not really sure in what they're being taught, what the techniques are and what the fundamentals are and what they're really being asked to do in the scheme. So that's the most important thing. But yeah, we did go back and watch tape, offense, defense, and special teams. Probably as excited about special teams is any area on the team, because if you look at us statistically the last year or so, it's the area for most improvement, I think. I think it's the area where we can make the biggest impact. And we are committed to playing the best players on special teams. I think it's a little bit different philosophy in the past. And I think that dealt with the sanctions and things like that. That was a way they were going to try to solve it with sanctions. I don't believe in that. I believe that we're going to play our best players. I think a lot of times coaches give special teams lip service. I'm not saying that's what's happened here in the past, but I believe you're going to play your best players in all 3 areas. Now, we can't have a guy starting on offense or defense and then start on all 4 units on special teams either. You got to have an understanding of that as well. But the film has been important, but the hands-on experience is going to be the most important thing that we have.
Along those lines, when you get to see the guys in action for the first time, what's the process like for you, the first impression kind of things, those first few days? What are you looking for compared to maybe what you saw in film?
It's really about, we talked to you guys a little bit before about culture and what culture means. Culture is about creating great habits and eliminating bad habits. That's academically, that's, socially, that's on the football field. So that's what we're really looking for. We're looking for guys that are going to run around, that are going to compete, that are going to have fun. That's one of the things I think is so important, to find coaches, to find people, to find players that can work extremely hard, but while they're working extremely hard, they can have fun and they can enjoy themselves. And that's what I want to see. Our 4 core values, which you guys have heard us talk about before, is number 1, positive attitude, Number 2, unbelievable work ethic, unrivaled work ethic. Number 3, compete in everything you do. And number 4, must be willing to sacrifice. And there are things that we're going to talk about. I hope you see those things in our practice. I expect it to be the most competitive practice and most competitive environment you guys have ever seen. That will get better in time, obviously, with the more depth that we have on the roster. But I want you to see that. I want you to see that with the coaches. I want you to see that with the players in everything they do. You know, who goes through the stretch and warm-ups the best. Every aspect of the program is important. You guys know we've said this before as well. You know, we're a process-oriented organization, not a goal-oriented organization. So what I mean by that is, you know, we're just going to focus on doing the little things extremely well, and by doing that, the big things will take care of themselves. So every detail is important. Every detail is significant in what we're trying to do. So I hope you guys get a chance to see that in practice.